So, hey, folks, I hope you all are great and doing good. So, let me welcome you everyone for the day 8 of our, School of AR session. And today we'll be learning about the elements template, and we have our expert trainer Naveen Upadhyay with us. So, without any delay, let's start with the session. Over to you, Naveen, sir.
Thanks, Varun. Thank you. Very good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Kush, Raghav, Praveen. Hi, Shekhar. Welcome back to the session. Um, Today, let's wait for some more people and we're going to start. Meanwhile, um, how is it? How's it working with your assignments? Have you been trying something out? If you any, do you have any questions? Shoot them. Meanwhile, we wait for others, and then we're gonna start with the elements template today. The electricity is kind of bummer today. It's not been here since morning, so I'm running on inverter. I hope it lasts until a session. So, with finger crossed with that. Hi, Bradley. Hello, Aman. 90%. Nice. That's nice. That's great to hear. What are you working on, Aman? What is that something you're trying on? Okay, is my screen visible to everyone? Okay, I think now it's visible. All right, I'm gonna start with the session today. Then we have here is it's about elements template. This template is a combination of couple of textures which are fully created in Spark. Like if you see water, which this lady is playing with, and you see fire, and then you see some smoke over her. Those textures are created within Spark. So that's a method of creating. There's a method of creating those things. Is basically they use these screen coordinates that we talked about yesterday, and then they modify it using some translations in a way that they appear like water, fire, and the smoke, the three textures that they have tried creating. So to start working with today's workshop, we don't really need any unfinished project, but we can start with the template. So when you open your Spark AR, you can just when you go to create new, you see like a lot of templates are there, which are there to help you learn about different kind of capabilities. And one of them is elements. It is similar to how we worked with the post processing template. It's similar to that, but it just have different functions that we can utilize into our projects. So when you click on it, it gives you that template right there. And when you open it, um, any sort of movement that happens in this scene, that movement is being detected, and then that's where the water is flowing right now. And there are a couple of things that we've already learned, like how to use the native UI picker, how to make distortions based on some texture. We have learned those things. So today is just like combination of whatever we have learned in earlier sessions. It just we're going to combine that knowledge and to create this beautiful effect. And so it's not complex when you open the template. There's like a couple of settings that you see here, a couple of patch graphs which are interconnected to each other. And find I see that there's a camera texture and this device they're being rendered to, and then a couple of processing is done on them, and then I see that my device is being outputted to the final output. So we're going to delete everything and we're going to start from very, very scratch. But just you see that it's a very small setup where water, fire, and air, all the three blocks are getting some inputs and they're providing some outputs. We have learned about uh, the blocks earlier, how to create them and how to import them into project and how to work with them. So just gonna make sure that I'm audible and okay. All right, let's just go through each settings. Like, what can we do with this effect? What else? What are these settings that we have? Everybody's familiar with, like, what you have in this session is in this setup is there's nothing in the focal distance. There's nothing at all. It's just like blank template. When you open it, you just see the lights and nothing else, and then you see that the device has nothing new as another setup. It's just super empty. But then there are three blocks in here which are making all the effects. So if I hide this water block, then probably that shouldn't be working. But I think there's other ways to do it. Okay, so if I delete, I have to delete it if I don't want it. Basically, it's somehow its output is still reaching to the device. So if we even if we hide it, we still see the effect running. To switch to another effect, we can use the native AI picker with this fire. Sorry, let's just talk about the water first. So you have like some sort of color there. So let's say your planet has a pink water, and you can probably go to a pinkish water, which this is going to generate some pink shades of water. And there are some other colors that if you want to combine with them, that can be done as well. So color A, so color B is just like, I think on the boundaries there's a different color, and when there's a trail there's a pink color, and in the boundaries this is a yellow color, and the color C is just black color, I think, whereas wherever it's just transparent. So if I go to white, then you see that the transparent color is now filled with the white color. So just keep it to black so that it's just not visible like that, but still, like, we have that capability to we have that option to change this color as well. The noise scale is the amount of noise which is working with it, this to create this water texture. So if you decrease it, it's going to be less and less and less, and if you increase it, then there's more noise, there's more distortion around that. The cooling effect is the stretch of the water. So like, higher it is, lower the stretch, but lower it is, the longer the stretch of that cooling. And you also see that uh, your like this, whatever the water form becomes, it all actually has your camera texture behind. So if you move a lot and the cooling is at the minimum, then you see that water, the distortion effect has your camera texture. That So keep it to like minimum, where it's kind of a good blend of both the textures. Then there's a gravity. More the gravity, faster it's going to fall, like the water. Less the gravity, and then like if you go from zero to negative side, then it's going to go up instead of coming down. Then there's a heat shimmer. I think this is basically whatever the distortion happens, it kind of distorts the background also. Like if I'm doing this, then you see that my curtains were moving a bit, like, like those. It affects the background. It affects whatever texture it has in the back, even if that's my body as well. So if you increase it, then it's going to be higher side. If you decrease it, then it's going to be like a lower side. Like the background won't be affected much. Won't be coming on this much. So that's opacity is, if you can decrease it, like, maybe don't work with it. I think it's not very good to decrease it from one. Basically, it's just the effect of the opacity, but there are a bunch of delay frames which just makes it worse if you decrease it. So not really a good idea I'm not sure like why this option was given here, but there are other ways to control the opacity than this, because this is certainly not the right approach. And there are a couple of inputs that we give to a block, which is like, if the block is active, so when is this active? So this is probably active when we have this is selected. So my picker UI has three icons: my water icon, my fire icon, and my um, another smoke icon. And these icons are selected if my number one, number two, number three, and that is basically activating my effect. So if my option number three, that is option number two, 1 0. So three options. If I go to number three, then that will be activated. If I go to number, just gonna bring it closer to this, and if I'm number one, then my active patch is number two is active. You see this active is this one. So and that is why when we were making it invisible, that was not affecting the effect, because it's kind of the activity of the effect. The effect being active is actually dependent on the option that you select from the bottom. And yeah, so similarly, you have more options with fire. How much noise do you want to have? Is a similar function. What we were doing with the settings with water. Gravity, fire usually goes up, so as the smoke, but the water can come down. So that's fine to keep those settings like that, and you can just select any of them. If you want to use just one block out of, probably we can delete the rest of two and work with the one. But there are a couple of settings that you have to do before you go there. So let's just start with a super blank project, and that's where we're going to start building. I hope this walkthrough is okay, just like opening an effect and then just going through the provided settings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project. We'll come back to the elements template, but just let's learn some concepts and then we'll utilize those concepts in this template. So I create a blank project, which is super blank right now. There's nothing into it, and we're gonna start with some basic patches like render pipeline. So what is a render pipeline? We have discussed about it, that um, how we see ourselves in the simulator or through the mobile camera is because that is by default being rendered. Like your device has a camera in it, and whatever that camera sees, my simulator sees, my phone sees that. But if you put more elements into the focal distance or whatever hierarchy you put in there, it's going to appear in that hierarchy. So by default, so I can say that my default pipeline is rendering whatever I have in my device to the device output. So that's what is happening. If you click on the device and if you click on the default pipeline, that's what it's going to give you. That your camera texture, like whatever your camera is looking at the moment, that's that's what is being rendered using the scene render pass, which is the pipeline that gives us sort of gives us a freedom to add or remove some things from the pipeline. So this is why we use the render pipeline, else there was like no use of it. But it was given to us because we could have that freedom so that we can modify or remove some elements, and then add it to our screen output. So just it's a simple setup. Like if you delete this, you will also see the same thing. But how to create that default pipeline is very also simple. What you have to do is bring out the camera texture, this camera texture, and we need is a scene render pass. You can go to patch library and go to scene render pass. This scene render pass is gonna ask you for a background texture and a scene object that you want to render. So I want to render my entire device. So I'm going to bring it here, pass it as an object. Like this is the object that I want to render. So you'll right now you see the black screen because there's no background to it, and there's nothing in my hierarchy. There's nothing. I have the camera, but I have to pass the camera texture to make it visible. So as soon as you pass the camera texture to the background, you see that okay, this is working. And if I give it to the output of the device, which is there's a this render pass, you just click on it. So right now, if you don't pass anything, it's going to be a blue screen, like there's no signal. Give us some signal, and this signal we give to this, and it's going to give us the camera setup. So this was the default pipeline. All right. Is there any questions until now? Please write them if you have. Yes, Jessica, we can use that, and then it's a very good setup. If you see, like, there's a the recent setup that the recent versions of Spark AR, they've given you this capability. Like, you can just click on retouch, and when you click on this, you'll see that I'm gonna delete the default pipeline that we had, and I'm gonna use this one. And this is all you need to do in here. So when I'm gonna delete this as well. So what you need to do is this create a face mesh. If you click here on the retouching, it by default adds a face tracker and also adds a face mesh. But you could do that by yourself. You can add your face mesh and you can add a face tracker. Then you bring out that scene object here like this. Like if I delete this, so I need this face mesh here, and then this goes as an object, and there are some sort of processing it does inside it, and then gives you a retouching output, and you can increase the intensity of retouching. You can see that my face has become a little blur. I'm not this soothing. Like, now this is like no retouch, but this is the intensity of retouch. So more the value you give the retouching, you can have. And the good part of using this, that even if you're doing the retouching, you can still use the render passes. So that's how you do it. All you have to do is go to device, click on the retouching, and then you'll have this. There are also some face warp thing, which is like face deformation and stuff you want to do. You can figure these out. Just click on one of them, and then they'll give you the setup, the basic setup to start with. Okay, we're not interested in this. We're interested in the default pipeline, and I'm going to delete this face tracker. Okay. All right, no questions so far. Then okay, so my goal is to make some water where there's a movement on the screen. That means I need to detect that movement. And when I think about it, it sounds like a very complex problem, because detecting a movement anywhere on the screen, because the movement can be anywhere, right? So what is that method I should think of? Like, how do how do we know there's a movement? So you may have you are maybe familiar with the security cameras. Like people do is that they put security cameras inside their factories, and they just put it on there, and there's when there is a movement in the view of the camera, it detects it and gives an alarm to the owner of the factory. So they have the same technique that we're going to use today. They have this very same technique that we're going to use today. It's because that's what we're augmenting something which happens in the reality into our digital world. So the concept is going to be the same. So what it does is that that camera looks at, let's say I have a pet, and that pet is my dog, and the dog is if the dog moves, then I should get a notification from its place. That's its punishment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my camera pointed at the dog, and I'm going to remember every frame that's happening. And if the dog moves a bit, so what I'm doing is I'm remembering every frame that I'm looking at. And if there's a difference in the frame, like if the dog moves, then the subtraction of this frame and this frame is going to give me that movement, like how much does that move. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. So right now, this is my entire camera screen, and I want to detect that can there be a movement into this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a delay frame. Okay, so whatever this frame is. So let's say if I move like this, then there's a delay frame, which means this is just following it. It's very fast, not just like 1 second or something. Very fast, but it's just delayed by a single slight frame. So I'm going to use a delay frame here. Sorry, not delay. It's a delay frame. Relay frame is only used with the render passes, because it takes inputs as what is your render pass that you want to, what is that texture that you want to delay. So this is the texture, which is my entire camera texture that I want to delay. So I passed it to this guy, and I can call this motion. Okay, I can call this motion. Like whenever there's a movement, just keep giving me that delaying frame. So this is not the difference. This is just a frame after my movement. So like if this is my real time move, then this is probably also my real time move, but just after maybe 0.1 second or something like that. So now you'll see that this is the exactly the same thing. There's no difference. There's very slight difference, but we can't see it from here. First frame, you can connect the same thing in here, but like first frame is our probably if you don't connect it, then it's just nothing. So in this case, it's not very useful. But in some cases where you wanna show something, like your first frame should be the frame which is not delayed, or it's a live frame, so then you can connect it anyhow. But right now I don't need it for this one. So I've right now it's my device. So remember that my device is only getting whatever the real texture is, but I'm now started working in these small screens because they show you whatever the previous inputs, and the function they are part of is giving this. They show you that. So this one is responsible of all of this and this view is only responsible for this, these two and this one. Okay. So I take this motion. This is like a sender that I can create a receiver of it. Okay. Just right click and make a receiver, so that there's no other way to access this because this is like a sender. This is a sender. You see these three icons, the sender. So this motion, if I see this motion, like how this motion is looking, it's going to be exactly the same as well now. So, but what I'm going to do is, I think you may have guessed that if this is my delayed frame and this is my original frame, so if I subtract this frame from this frame, would I get that movement? Like if I just move here, then that I will only get that frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the motion, the delayed frame, which is running late, to the frame which is originally running. Okay, like the camera is looking at, and this subtract is gonna give me something. Like let me see what this subtract is giving me. So you can see that it is only giving me where I'm moving. Like right now, my hand is moving, so it's just giving me those frames. It's not giving me anything else rather than that. So this is quite colorful right now because we are passing all the red, green, blue channels to it. So what if we just don't need it? We just need to detect the movement, and wherever the movement is, I'll just print out my water texture there. Okay, that's the entire concept. Like how do we know where's the movement? And once we know the movement, what do we do with it? We just give it the water texture or fire texture or smoke texture to do that. So so processing all the channels isn't really necessary. So all I need to process is the maybe just one channel, and this is red channel. You can do just one channel. Like I can only that is enough for me because I don't need all the information. It is okay. You can also work with that, but it's a good optimization. You can say like a good, better optimization because I just need one color value. I just need the change, which is just one unit. I don't need how many changes are in my color pixel. Like you just give me change either in black or white. That's okay for me. I can utilize that. So I'm just going to use the red channel of it. When I use the red channel, so I'm gonna use the red channel. This should be the entire RGBA because this is the original texture that we're giving it. But the delayed frame, we're just only caring about how much is the movement in just one channel. Okay. So as soon as we do that, our this thing will become to red. This will only render the red color, and then whatever lines we see, we just gonna see the red color. So now this is just for like what we are looking at because you could connect this to your device also, and you'll see that in the simulator. But that's not really necessary because our output is going to be different. It just we're just um, working with the concepts right now, and then we'll just combine everything and just give it to device. So just so that I'm visible in the screen, I'm just going to give it to the original texture that we have. And now let's arrange the project a bit. Arrange as in, so that, so delay frame, I'm going to keep it up. And this device is okay here. And this motion, that's what I'm subtracting. This motion is coming from here, okay, from the delay frame. And then I'm subtracting the original texture from the delayed frame, and that's what I'm getting here. Now, I know that I'm getting that outline. I can see that outline, but if you compare to the original effect, you will notice that they were like a trail of movement. It's just like not just one pixel movement. There was like a trail of movement. So if I want to achieve that trail of movement, what I can do is I can delay the delayed frame. So right now this is giving me the already delayed values. If you see that the right or left, you can see that if I move right like this, then it's more right this side. But if I move like this, then it's the more change. Where is the change? And that it actually represents us to the change. Okay, so I'm going to delay it again. I'm going to use another delay frame to use that back into the pipeline. And this needs to go through a render. Like we only accept the render pass. So either you can't directly subtract texture which is not rendered. So what you can do, you can just add a shader render pass in the middle, and then the output you can just pass it to the render pass. Okay, so again, we don't need all the channels. We just need the red channel, and we can make it. Well, initially you can just keep it blank. Um, there won't be any difference as such, because it's just similar to how we were looking at in this one and that one. So there's no difference in those frames, but we're gonna make sense of it in a while. Then I'm gonna call it something else. If there was motion, then this is trail. This is maybe trail. Uh, we call it trail. I make a receiver for it, and I take it back, and I can add it to the my subtracted frame. And if I do that, and then so I need to make that delay, that okay, my delay frame goes to the delay frame, like my initial output, initial input goes to the delay frame. Delay frame then gives it back. So whatever it gives me, I put it to delay frame again, and then it gives me back. That's the function of delay frame. Okay, so that's why we are seeing that detection. That's why we're seeing that movement. That it is keep changing. It keeps giving that initial frame, process it to the previous frame, then gives back to the previous frame. So like if there's a frame number one being passed as well, like a frame number one, then it's going to give you the frame number two. Then the frame number one is going to come back in here, and two, and then one and two, and then one and two, and it keeps running. That cycle keeps running. So that's what is happening here. So what we did is like we took the motion vector, like whatever the motion was, and then we added it to the another delay frame of it, and then we give it back to this. So you see that now I see every frame of that change. Like when I moved, so I was here. If I move, then it's gonna keep a copy of that frame. Where was that? And it's gonna print that, right? So if you see that there's kind of a trail I'm leaving behind. There's like a trail I'm leaving behind. So we don't need the black background as such. We can just keep it to like opacity to 0, and then you still see that there's a. But I need a trail. I'm not satisfied with this because it's giving me something, but it's actually giving me artifacts. Like if let's say if I have a distortion, if I wave on the up screen, then the wave should go in some time. It's just not stay there. It's staying right there. So what we can do is we can kind of decrease it a bit, like the amount of frame that we are passing it to this guy. We can just multiply it with a lesser number, like multiply by 1, then it's going to be the same. If you multiply it by 0.1, then you see that the movement is not even visible. So we're going to go a little higher, 0.5. it's visible, but this I see that this one is a little darker than this because obviously it's being added to the previous motion and then the current trail. So I'm gonna just keep it to like I don't want to lose my movement. My movement was okay when it was one, but I just want slightly less like so that the frames are not printing like like it leaves like a trail and then goes away like that. So I'm gonna put it to like zero point 0.9, and then you see that now I have like a beautiful trail which goes away, and I can see it, but then I don't see it in a while. So this trail is like becoming like a actual trail. This motion is now becoming like an actual trail. So yeah, this was the main fundamentals behind detecting a movement, and we can further, of course, modify and work with it. As in, we can make it a little darker to so that we can print our textures better. Like because what we want is we want a white texture, which is our motion, which represents our motion, and we'll print that white texture with our water, fire, or like smoke. So this is my main texture, like my trail and my this is combination. So this is what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna maybe make it a little darker so I can use a smooth step here. And if I use the 0 to 1, then it's probably going to give me like a even lesser, not so dark, like even yeah, it's better, but maybe we can reduce this mm, edges to try out a value which is not so harsh, like zero point 0.5, and you see like it's a little bit darker. The trails are a little bit darker. My goal is to have the outlines darker, but the trail at like not so dark. Like trail should be like a trail only. Like I like the trail better here, but not here right now. So maybe around the edges, zero point 0.1 and zero point 0.2. So this gives me like a longer trail. Like you can see, there's a longer trail which is also going back, and yeah, you can play around these values based on your project and everything. You can modify these values to like what fits best for you. We can keep it to like that for now. And this is what my output is. So I'm gonna call it like a, I'm gonna clear at center, and I'm gonna call it like a um, like this is my movement. So I'm going to call it movement alpha. Like this is what the movement is. This is kind of a texture, so I'm going to give it a texture. This is just for representation. We can delete it. I'm going to recap quickly so that you know what was happening. um, we will recap using the device output. So right now, this is what we have created so far. That when I'm stable, I am not even there. Like there's nothing printing. But the moment I slightly move, you see my mouth is moving and it's printing my mouth right now. So if there's a change, even if there's a change in lighting of the room, this is going to print that entire alpha. Okay, so this is what our output is. So let's go to the first step was that we created a default pipeline. We took a camera, took a device as object, like whatever was in there, and then we gave it to our device. Then it was just like a normal camera texture. Then what we did is we delayed this frame, and we created a motion. And the motion was nothing is similar to what it was, but just we only took the red channel. So right now it's red, and then we subtracted it. We subtracted the entire delay frame, subtracted the original texture from the delayed frame, and this is what we got. We got a movement, like wherever there was a movement, we got that detail. And then we delayed the delayed texture, like we delayed the subtracted texture. We delayed the movement texture from and like again, but we control the intensity, like so that it just does not stay there. So we said like, okay, don't not like, even if you put like 0.95, it's gonna leave a little bit of artifacts. Like I can see my glasses like that. There's a detail into that, but I don't want that detail. Hence that is we are at 0.9. You could try 0.85 as well, and then you'll see. So let's go one by one. Then we added back to this, and this is where we are after that. So yeah, this is the main movement alpha, and I can do is I can create a receiver of it and give it to my device to. So this is my main output. Now I can print anything to this. I can give any texture to this alpha that we have. Like this is red, but it's very easy to make it white. All I have to do is maybe mix it, mix it with mix where there's a wherever there's a white color. Sorry, wherever there's a white color, then maybe we can print a color to this is alpha, and then there's no opacity. Or we can just multiply it with a white color, I guess. So yeah, basically we can utilize this alpha to give us the output for the distortion, or even anything else that we want to do with it. Any questions so far until this setup? It's a pretty simple setup, but I know that there's a new patch that we talked about today, which is delay frame. And any ideas, any doubts about the functionality of this, let me know in the comments. I'm here. Yeah, we can do that, Aman. We can definitely use the rectangle to output that. But you see that we don't have any elements right now in the scene. So for this setup, it's okay. But when you work on your own projects, it is very much useful to use a rectangle and render out the output. So that can be done here also. Like instead of this is what we want to render, this is our output. So you want to render to a rectangle, and then the rectangle has to be in the device. So right now, if you don't have any other element, it's directly I can do this. That's pretty simple enough for me. Okay, so this was pretty much it. This the concept was pretty much it. Now we have to go back to our template, and then let's find out the any questions. So like I want to make sure, like, if you have any questions so far, if you understand the concept well. Can we use multiple color at once? What do you mean? What do you mean by multiple color? Where do you want to use the colors? Do you mean to use it at like all the channels? Yes, you can. There is no problem in that. It's gonna be the same. There's no problems at all. It's just gonna give you the colored values here. But as I said, like all we need is just the movement. We don't care about the colors of the movement, because this is anyway is not our output. This is anyway just we're going to use it to show our displacement, to show our distortion. Like that's my goal. So it's totally up to you. I would suggest that you don't have to use it, just use red, because there's no point of using other colors. And then yeah, that's all right if you use the red channel. Okay, Shaker, that's good to know. Can we do mix with delay? Can we mix different shaders together? I don't know what you mean, Hassan. You have to be a little specific. What about your question? Of course, you can do that, but do you want to talk about any specific case or something using delay frame? You can do a lot of things using delay frame. Delay frame is just a capability which gives you um, a frame which is delayed by a little bit above seconds of amount. So it also gives you capability of utilizing the same frame again and again. Like let's say if I want to use a frame again and again, then that's the way you do it. You use the delay frame to utilize that. Okay, no more question. We go ahead. No worries, Hassan. We understood your question, but if you want to know about like what kind of shaders that you want to mix, let me know. I can probably give you a better, narrower answer, because of course you can mix different shaders, but what is it that you want to do? Let me know. I can guide you in that as well. So of course you can mix it with some color or something, and then you can do that. Like there's no problem in that. Okay, this is okay. And then the next thing is we want to do is that like now I know that my alpha is steady with me. Now I want to do some texture distortion. So let's try to make a simple distortion where we don't have a like like the complex water was coming off, but let's try to create a very simple distortion wherever there's a movement. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a texture distortion. I'm gonna bring in that texture distortion patch, and this is in here. And for now, if I bring it in here, this is the the alpha where so my texture is going to be my camera texture for sure. So let's bring that in here. So this is my camera texture. I'm gonna call it sender original camera texture, which is has no modifications at all, and it's gonna be a texture type. Okay, and then we remove this to take it there so that we can just directly plug it in. And I'm going to create a receiver here. That receiver is my original camera texture, which I want to distort where there's a let's try this what this give us, but we're gonna change that. So you can see that wherever there's a movement, I can already see some sort of distortion. Like if I move my hand, then the distortion is right there, and if I do somewhere else, then the distortion is there. So but my end goal is not like that, but I want to add like some different kind of texture to it. So I tell you a very simple concept, like how everything is working in those complex blocks in water, fire. This is the answer to everything. This is what is happening. All they're doing is using this alpha to create a noise, better noise, I would say. So if I have a noise in here, let's say you have this liquid noise, and this liquid noise again, I would recommend it to compress it. This is very big in size, so we can compress it to a smaller size, and then we bring out this liquid, and we use a texture transfer, so that it's just similar to what we did with the noise yesterday, that we sort of create some sort of noise which looks like water or something like that. So this has to be transformed with a 2D transform pack, and 2D transform pack is going to be in here, and I'm going to use a loop animation, which is going to move my noise. So I'm going to give it a transition, which is of course a vector 2, and goes from minus zero point 0.5 to plus zero point 0.5, and then this there's a movement in y as well. Let's move it less in y and more in x. So we make it to minus 2 to plus 2, and we just make it to minus 5 to plus 5, and we give it to this guy, and you see that the more movement is so much, we gotta scale it up to like maybe 5 or 5, and then I still see that there's some texture which is not there, so I'm gonna make it to minus 3 and 3. There's still something, so 7 and 7, and I see there's a constant movement, but the speed is too much. I don't like the speed, not a great fan of that speed, so I'm going to make it to 10, and I see that there's a constant movement in that noise and keeps repeating itself in a while. So now if this noise is my distortion, then I want to see that how's that work. Does that look like a water to me? That looks like a water to me, but which is going in the x direction. But the water is going to come down, like the water is going to fall down. So it's better that I make the y move a lot and not the x too much. So if I want to move it a lot, then maybe -5 to +5. And then I see that the water is now kind of moving downwards, but for some it doesn't have the texture, so I'm going to make it to maybe reduce this to -1 to 1, and then this goes to -3 to +3, and then that should solve all my problems. I can make it a little 8 seconds or something. Okay, now we see that there's a little bit of watery texture that we have in the distortion, but it is distorting my entire screen. Okay, so I don't want that. I only want distortion where my this alpha my movement alpha is. So what I can do is I can take this texture and I can use a mix and only show the alpha where the alpha I can give from the movement alpha, and can see that how's that looking. Okay, I can take like a swizzle it to XYZ, and then maybe so I'm taking the RGB of this and then maybe pecking it with the alpha which is coming from here, and then I have to swizzle this as well. And I see a bit of promising results, but let's try it out. No, it's just doing it for the entire screen. So this is we need another method to this. Probably let's try to add. Okay, let's we need to create this alpha a little more prominent. So let's try to subtract from it, and if you subtract zero point 0.5 and see that how does that become. So now it becomes like more little prominent. I can add something to it. I can delete some of the white black textures. So this zero point 0.5 looks good to me. And if I from subtract it from this one, then what do I get? Okay. Okay, so we are getting this noise texture, and this noise texture should be first maybe sampled with the electricity is back. Sample with this alpha. So let me print it with this alpha first. So I need this water distortion only where my alpha is only where I'm this is white. So to do that, I think we can use another texture sampler, texture transfer sampler, and this texture transform we need to transform. No, sorry, we need to use a distortion rather than this. So I need to have this texture which should be distorted with this, and that should be my distortion. So I see that now I'm somewhere waterish, whereas there's a movement, but I know that this I need to still adjust the values. So what I did is that I wanted I wanted this water liquid distortion, but only wanted where my alpha was. So what I did is that I took my alpha wherever the movement was, and then I just distorted that using the liquid one, and then I gave that distortion texture to the original camera texture distortion, and then I have my output. So this is like a basic setup of how to distort a place where only there's a movement, not other places. So this is how you do it. And to make it better, what you can do is you can just decrease these values to zero point 0.1. And also make this 2.1. So now there's like a better values of distortion, and make it faster if you like. Make it like faster if you like. Make it like a smaller if you like, so that you'll see like waterish texture. So the entire concept of changing those setting is that only like we kind of work with our noise texture, like how big or how small should that be. And I think the earlier values were far much better than this. And also we can try to subtract some black values from it. If you subtract zero point 0.5 from the entire texture, then this should become a little better as well. So yeah, this is the main concept. Any questions on the upper part of this? That what we did is we took out our original texture, which was nothing but our the setup, this normal setup, and we used a distortion patch with this. And in the distortion one, we had our distortion ready, where the distortion was only where the movement was, which were distorted with the liquid noise, and then that noise was given us to this distortion texture. So which is giving me this currently output. So what you can do is here you can try creating some sort of lightning effect where there's a movement. You see that this movement is nice. It looks like a water, like whatever this camera is distorting with it. And wherever there's like a lightning and stuff, so like wherever there's a movement, there's a light going coming, like a blue light. You can do that. So yep, this is all about how basically you create a distortion, like with an effect to it, with a realistic effect to it. That's how you do it. This is all about it. And then we can now go to the template which we were talking about, and we can see that how is that working. This is the concept behind that as well, but that they have combined a couple of functions together, and now it will be easy for us to understand. So I'm gonna go to the chat. Any questions on the topic? Can you use the texture tiling mode to avoid this distortion to lose the texture? Um, Texture tiling mode. Where? Like, do you want me to tile this texture? Like, oh, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I think okay. So yeah, that's a good suggestion. So what we can do is we can put it on repeat. Put it on repeat, and then that should make the issue go away for tiling. I think yeah, that's a very good suggestion. Thanks, Jessica. That's a great suggestion. So tiling, I think we also discussed about it one day. So wherever when there's a screen is divided into a couple of parts, like 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, is because we tile we tile it accordingly. So right now the tile is 1:1. If I make it to 2, then my x will be divided into 2, and my y is also divided into 2. So that will become 4 screens. So if I put my tiling mode as repeat, then whenever the texture moves and out after the endpoints, it start repeating itself. Okay, so that's what the if you put it on this clamp, then it's not gonna do that. You'll see that last point of the texture is repeating itself. So you can put it on repeat, and then that's how you can solve it. Okay. Any more questions? Anything which is yeah, not understanding, or go ahead and ask your questions. Pretty simple setup. We're gonna move to main project. Okay, now I can see your screen and my questions as well, because now the electricity is back. Okay, no questions. Do we understand everything? Are we sure? I know that you must have questions about delay frame. Right? Like, how's everybody understood the delay frame? Any functions of the delay frame? You must have some questions about that. Anything? I'm emphasizing on it because it's important to learn the render pipelines and use of render delay frames, because they give great details to our effects. Yeah, so it's better to learn them. Okay, I'm going to save this for now as a. We're gonna call it session. Okay, so let's go back to the elements template and try to understand the how is this working. And now you see that the main difference in our effect and this effect is that it just has like a better distortion. It just has a better texture to that the one we made with the noise was just like a any texture that we made, but this one has like a better distortion texture. So let's try to understand how is this made. Now, if you look at the setup, it's pretty much same. What they have is this is the basic pipeline, and then what they're doing is that they gave this pipeline to the initial source image, which was the fire. So because these blocks are connected, so I'm going to delete these, okay, so that we can use one by one. So when you want to use any particular block out of these, just delete the other two. When you delete it, it's going to give you a lot of errors, because the this was connected in a different way, and now it's we deleted those things. So all we need to do is connect our this final output. You can this is just to anti-aliasing. Like sometimes when there are small textures, they don't end up looking better. So this one just make sure that they're not pixelated or squared like that. So this I'm going to delete it for now, because we're going to use this device output, and we're going to go to the water one. The water one is in the middle, and the water blocks output. This is the water, and if you drag it in here, this is the output, and we gave it to that. So we screen it back, but it doesn't have any input image. So our input image has to be the source image, which is this. And then we're back. We're back with the effect. So you can delete rest of the things. So let me do that right now. We don't need this. We don't need the UI packet as well, because there's one element in here, and we don't need this last one as well. So all we have is like just this small setup, very small setup, so it's easier to understand. um, let's say what they've done is like they took the camera texture, they also took the device as an object, and then they rendered it to the like this is my initial pipeline. So that's what we had in our project. And then they created in this one, they again they passed it to a delay frame and subtracted that. Like this is the motion delay frame, and they subtracted this to the original texture, and that's what we can compare it. Like what is it in here right now? So right now what we should have is like a red colors delayed frame. Like we have that. and they delayed it again. They delayed it again. If you see, like, they delayed it again. It just like very similar output to that, but it just if you delay it one more time, it just like more values, and then maybe better display of colors. So if you do that, it's like a better, more distortion like that. And yeah, so this is our source, which goes to the source of the block, and that block then processes it. What is the function of block processes some inputs and gives you an output. So you have the input as a as your distorted image, and wherever that distorted alpha goes, it applies this water block applies some sort of distortion to it, and then there's also a delayed frame to that particular distortion. They add it, and then they pass it back to the block again. So we gave an input to the block gave us an output. So like whatever the output, it generated one distortion, and then we got that, and we put it back to the amount, and this again goes back to the water. So that's the function of delay frame. It accesses the previous frame, goes to the current frame, accesses the previous frame, and then keeps going. So we have like better distortion of the texture as well. So this is what we didn't do in the example that we just did. Like if we do this with our distortion as well, then we have like a better distortion. Okay, so if you want to go inside the block, well, let's can try to understand. Not really sure. Like we, this is not probably enough to complete in one session, but I think this is the main, like when you open the block, you'll see that there's all the color A, color B, color C, the inputs that we were giving from the main project. What was the noise scale, how much gravity, other amount of this is the amount that the texture that we are passing it back, like the water amount, and yeah, so that's the main logic behind it, like what's happening in here. um, we can try and talk about it. It just basically whatever we were doing as with the noise, if you remember, like how we were scaling it a bit and moving it a bit, like um, moving it in a x direction or y direction. So this is just like the a better calculation to do that. It's just like they're also taking the noise texture, they're sampling it in terms of uv, like in which part of the camera the texture coordinates are. So yeah, um, I don't see a point to go through all this, but you can open it, and you can try to figure out what's happening and where. Maybe try to figure it out. Have any questions, come back to me. If you talk about all the patches and the logic, it's probably going to take more than 2 sessions in this one, because yeah. I think it's a combination of all the knowledge that we have about the vertex attribute, because that's what they're using. They use the screen coordinates to make that sort of distortion, like flowing water, and similarly goes to like fire and smoke as well. Um, yeah, I recently made a like a Trochet effect. Trochet effect is that we don't need any external textures, and but still we can divide our screen into couple of grids, and we access each grid and we draw some lines on them, and based on those lines sort of like rotate or make some closed loops using them. So similarly, that's what we do in here using a noise. We make some closed loops and then try to move them like water. Yeah, this is the water template, and there are other like fire template, and also like a smoke template as well. Okay, any questions to understand this blog? Any Yeah, I need to have some feedback if you're getting it. So yep, talk to me. Yep, you can blend shaders in the render bus. So yeah, that's totally possible. Okay, maybe let's try some other one, the fire one. What is a latex effect? As in, what do you mean by latex effect? Is there a known term? What is a latex? Latex is like a rubber, like something stretches or something. Like what is a latex effect? Um, okay, try to play with fire. I'm actually done for today. So any questions if you have, like this is the template. If you want to go something like something to understand, something you want to understand, like go into deep or something, we can do that. How can we achieve latex effect, texture to normal map, jelly? One word questions. Um, jelly effect is like more like stretching. I think UVs, stretching the UVs. So can do that. How can you achieve it? You just have to use the vertex attribute, uh, vertex attribute to achieve that, and then use it as a distortion, use it as a tiling, and then maybe make those tiling scale in sort of circular manner, so that like the movement of x and movement of y is not relative to each other. It's just like I can't really tell you in a one session like how to make the jelly and stuff, but I can guide you in a way that you can make it in yourself. So, well, you can kind of try to. Uh, I have a YouTube channel, and you can always come there. And there's a there's a recent video, and I talk about vertex attribute a lot in that, and how to modify each and every UVs. So I hope that can be useful for you guys. Okay, texture to normal map is you wanna know about it? Like there's a patch called texture to normal map. Texture to normal map. What are the normals? Normals are normals are like kind of detail detail to an detail to a surface. So like because they're perpendicular to the surface, so they give us like how much is the detailing of that. Maybe if you have dots on the surface, or if you have like tiles on the wall, then the that normal map gives you that information about those tiling. So if you import a normal map in here and uh, try to give it something, maybe give it this texture, and then see that what it comes as like a detail of those lines. So so yeah, it's a normal map, so you can utilize this information to do a lot of things. I think even if you do some distortions, and if you use a texture to normal, like texture to normal map to create a normal map, and then use this normal map to create a distortion effect, that could also give you a little bit detail, I think. But yeah, it's like it depends. I think mostly you should work with when you're creating, when you're working with a like a detailed effect or a 3D effect, then useful. I think also in 2D as well, if you're like creating something which is melting down, something which is melting in a way, then I think these will give you a little bit of detail, because it can create bumps into the structure. Those bumps can be useful to create something on that. um, so yeah, Gaussian vertical and horizontal. Do you want to know about it, or okay, do you want to know about it? Gaussian vertical, I think you're talking about the blur, probably, and the horizontal. Um, it's a convolution method, basically, to make that Gauss, Gaussian Gaussian verticals or horizontal. Like it's a convolution method where you have like couple of matrices, and those matrices, what they do is they they take inputs um, of the pixel locations, and then they blur it out. So what they do is like maybe they will replace 3 pixels by 1 pixel, so that it loses the details. So something when loses the details, it becomes a blur texture. So it doesn't go all the way. Like you still are able to identify what is the texture, but it's a little bit blur. The greatest example for that is that the way we were doing the retouching. So the retouching is the greatest example for that. So they create the entire map to just get some pixels out of it, so that they and then blur it out, so it looks like better, less detailed. Okay, guys, any more questions, anything? So I like I would have made something for you for using this, but um, to be honest, I have never made a filter using these templates, but these templates are kind of useful to start with something. Like it gives you an idea of how the things are situated in the tool, like this delay frame and everything. So there are a couple of nice approaches in here. How to use the delay frame, how to get the differences between those images, those two frames. So those are your takeaways from these. And when you try to create effects, of course, one of our assignments will have something to do with these effects. So you just understand, like if you're gonna just use the water, if you're gonna use the fire, then how can we do it from this template? You just delete the other two, and then just use the one that you want, and connect the way we were just doing it. To connect the device output to the one that gives you the output, like the air, then connect to the air. If it's the water, then connect to the water. If it's the fire, so I can maybe spend 5 minutes on this. um, Initial setup, the default pipeline, and the way we are creating the the difference between the frames. There's two things. These are two things which are important and common to all these three. So understand this use of these blocks is only to give you that water texture. Okay, there's no other function of it. There's no other function of this fire block. There's no other function of water block, because in the previous example that we did not use any of these textures. We were just using the liquid noise, and then that's how it was made. So yeah, so you just have this default pipeline, and there's a there's a movement alpha that we created, and we take that movement alpha and we input that to our source of the. This is the source of the particular. Like everybody has the source. The air has the source as well. The fire has the source as well. I think the air one can be converted into a lot of nice effects, because like um, I don't know, it just looks good. You can also put it like in the back of myself. Okay, Aman. Maybe if you feel that way, go and rewatch it. But still, if there's something which is right now can be answered, um, yeah, let me know, because maybe when you're watching, you won't be able to talk to me. But still, anything that you can want to talk about, I'm here. It is not advanced actually. I'm trying to make it as simple as I can. Somehow, sometimes I'm just like reluctant to go into more details because that's only gonna confuse you a lot and lot. There's no advanced stuff. There's nothing like advanced stuff in Spark here. Everything is made to be used as simple as you can. By just when you look at things, all of a sudden, oh my god, such a nice effect, and then what are those things? So many patches. So that's how you become a little overwhelmed. But don't worry about it. Like even if you don't have these textures, you can still make your own water effect, right? You can still make your own distortion effect, and that's enough if you know about that. And then these are just sides, like um, you can learn on the way, one by one, and then there's a combination of everything then. So I wouldn't say it's an advanced stuff, but definitely something new to learn, definitely something to experiment with on the delay frames. um, maybe I'm just gonna close this one, and I'm gonna go back to the one that we made, the practice pad, because I think this probably made more sense to you because we were using this a couple of times in other lectures also. So we can like um, we can uh, we can work on this and to make it like a better effect also, as use some techniques to make it like super nice effect. So maybe this is 10, and like we can make some changes where alpha is not so much, or maybe not use the smooth step. That looks bad. Okay, I remember Jessica asked me a question yesterday, which was about like if my hand is somewhere, then I need the distortions there. So there are a couple of ways to do that. One, you can use the hand tracking, and other ways also this one, where you just want to show something where there's a movement. But if you just want it to be reactive to your hand, then probably hand tracking is the answer. I think we have one of the sessions planned for hand tracking, and we can take that as example in that session as well. Okay, the reason I came to this project back was I wanted to talk about delay frame, and so let's understand the delay frame. Okay, let's understand the rectangle, and then also printing out something in that rectangle. But let's do that later. First, okay, this is my default pipeline, and I'm gonna bring back my device to in here, my device, and that's it. Okay, so this is my default texture. Forget everything else. Okay, this is what it is. This is my original camera texture. So I'm gonna give it to my device right now. All right, and I'm just gonna make you familiar with the delay frame. Okay, so what is delay frame? So this is my original texture, and when I use a delay frame with it, like when I say, let's use a shader underpass first. Shader underpass is just to see what is in here, and when we pass it to a delay frame, that means that means we have a um, that means we have a frame. We can access to the previous frame always. Let me try to take a better example so that you understand the delay frame. Um, for an example, if I let's say if I screen tap, if I screen tap, I want a photo to be captured. I want when I do screen tap, I want that the frame freezes. The frame does not move at all. So that means what I want is that when I screen tap, the frame that I'm passing to the delay frame, it becomes like that frame is only being on there. Like then like if there's no other new frame, then that frame will stay still, and then what will not move, right? So let's implement this. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take my original texture, and I want to delay it with an image that comes to me. with an image and I pass it back, and that image should be like right, that image, no changes to this. So I'm gonna use a mix, okay, and so initially it's gonna be the delay frame. Initially it's gonna be the original texture. I think original texture we can give it to, and then when I screen tap, then my alpha should become one. No, it's not connected. Oh, it's not connected. Okay, so okay, this is because the first frame is black right now, so I'm gonna do that. And why is it transparent? All right, so what I want to do is I want to use this delay frame to click a picture of something. So this delay frame is coming back here, right? This original camera is my original camera. Let's just use this in here. And when I click a photograph, then it should be my delay frame, and which is, I may have to refresh the fact, I think. Strange, very strange. Okay. Okay, the first frame has to be in the original camera texture, I think, using a shader and the pass. That happens, then should not give me this blank texture. Yeah. All right. So whenever this alpha becomes one, it should click me a photo, and then else not, like, you can see some terrible changes. So when I screen tap on this one, so this is screen tap should make me a switch probably automatically if I try to connect it. Now I want it. Okay, so I'm gonna connect it to a switch, and the switch is connected to flip. So this one is going to give me a true or false whenever I clicked on it. So if it is true, then it's going to be one, and if it's false, then it's going to be zero. I mean, if it is one, then it's going to click me a picture in the that particular frame I'm in, and then I click it back, it's going to be resumed to my original frame. So sometimes in some effects where you want people to like click like three photographs in every 3 seconds, then probably this is something that you can utilize. Like, okay, so this is what delay frame does. Like when you click something, it's going to take that frame and then just repeat it all over again and keep repeating it, and then you click again and then it's fine. So let's do this for like, let's use a loop animation, and all the photo booth effects are like that. Like there's like four frames, one, two, three, four, and then one image like that, second image like this, third image. So people do that like a lot. So I'm gonna do this for to like, in every 1 second it's gonna flip. So it's gonna capture different sort of interactions, like different sort of like effects like that. So yeah, so what's happening in every 1 second, it's giving me a pulse which is turning off and off. So the image is going to stay 1 minute, 1 second, and then yeah. So what I did is I should repeat it, I think, Ekbar, for a second. So what I have is I have the original texture, my original camera texture, and then I have my delayed frame, and then I'm changing the alpha. That's it. That's as simple as that. It's a not lagging. It's because this is working here. And how do I draw using like using something? So how do I draw? So when you draw using your hand or using your nose, so it is possible because of the delay frame only. Aman says, sir, is there is a way to disable the camera button in a filter? Camera button in a filter? No, no, you can't disable that. I think I might have seen something like this in a filter somewhere. Using that filter does not let picture video to get captured. Um, I don't think that's possible. We can't we can't do that. We can't hide the camera button. There's no way we can do it because that is overlaid, like whatever our filter has, that's camera button is overlaid over it, so we don't have any control. We don't have any control on that. So similarly also, like if you see that the instructions, the instruction that we give to the user, those are overlaid top of everything. Like everything is they are over the filter, like, so that those instructions are always, they're not even your device, they're over the thing, like they're over everything, every hierarchy that you have. How do we display these captures in other plane? Okay, interesting question. Very interesting question. What you can do is just create, let's say I'm going to create a rectangle, and in that rectangle, I'm going to have this like maybe like fully width for now. But then I'm going to change the, so give it a material, some material to it, and use this texture. So whenever you did this, whenever you click the image, so you should know that when you're clicking the image, and when you click the image, this texture should be passed to this material. But right now we are using as device in here, so that's why um, it's not working. So like if you use the rectangle in here, like I mean, you have to, we don't need the device pipeline for that, so we need to remove that. And yeah, so we don't want to use this for this, and then we can use this texture here. And now every time there's a photo click, we can use that. So let's say we just want to pass a screen tap. Okay, this is like, so whenever I screen tap, this image should be captured. Okay, and then this should become smaller, and this should go into the upper part of the screen. That's what we want to do. So whenever I screen tap, first of all, this should flip, and when that happens, I should also have an animation. This animation should give me a transition, and I want to have like a delay to it, so that like first you capture, and that capture then goes like into the top. So this delay should be like maybe 0.5 second, or that's good. Like we can change it that. So understand that when I'm a screen tap, I want to obviously click the picture, so that's already working. But clicking the picture to this rectangle, so I want to scale it down and move it up. Okay, so when I scale it down to, like, let's say I want to scale it down to vector 2. Right now it's 1 1, so I'm going to make it half of it. So you start in the starting, it was 1 1. Then I'm going to scale it down to 0.5. And once that happens, then I want to move. So when this is complete, then I want another transition, another animation, which should move it up. We should move it up to, let's say, move it up somewhere at the top. So maybe give me a transition which is starting from 0 0. You go up in the x direction, no problems, don't go anywhere. But in the y, go by like minus 300. Okay, let's try it. Yep. Do we see that? Do we see that? Like there's a picture was clicked, and I can do this again. Like if I just so what I did is was If I screen tap again, it's gonna flip the alpha. So now the picture is not clicked anymore. So the other section, I'm also have a copy of myself. But if I click again, then I see that the photo was captured there. Like the photo is captured in that scene, not in the real scene. But I want to do that every time I tap. So I have to reset everything. I have to reset this. I have to also reset this. So when I refresh now, I can click and then that will get smaller first, and then it's completed, it's going to go up. I can click again and then that's going to again happen. Yep. Does that answer your question, Shaker? Okay, I think there's something. It's a simple thing. You could make couple of such rectangles, and then like click it, and then one image is there. Click it, another image is there. Click it, another image is there, and then another. That's how all the photo booth filter works on Instagram. If you go to Instagram and then search for like photo booth filter, there's plenty of photo booth filters out there, and just like a simple concept. It's a very simple concept. Yeah. Um, Well, anything else? Any other doubts? If you have, what else could we do? We could try drawing something. If you want that, we could do that. So I'm going to delete everything so that it's easier to understand. Delete it. Yeah. Um, right now, show myself. Um, what was it, Shaker? How do we display these captures in other plane? Did I not answer that already? You can type your question again. I'm so sorry if I missed it. Um let's try to draw something. So let's have a particle system, and this particle system moves to, maybe not particle system. Let's try to have a, can I have a particle system or something like a plane as well, like a plane. So this plane is super white right now. There's nothing added to it, and when I um, plane, we're working with a plane. Okay, so this plane should be smaller than it is right now. So maybe like point 0.2, point 0.2, point 0.2, point 0.2, and point 0.2. And uh, so what I want to do is I want to create this similar structure that I had earlier. So this plane should be like a scene object render pass. So I'm gonna just create a different pipeline to access this plane, so that all I have is this plane, nothing else. Make it transparent, then just not even the black color. So this is the another usage of the render pipeline. And what I'm gonna do now is I wanna like move this rectangle. So move this plane. So let's move this plane. To move this plane, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it move, and that is why I was looking for particles, because they keep moving automatically. So I don't have to write anything to move them. So I'm gonna use a particle system again, and give it a material like the zero. Okay, I'm flying myself. I'm gonna use number one. Maybe the speed should be, this should be like 0, and the speed should be 0.1, maybe 0.5, and the spray angle birth rate maybe 5, like not so much movement. Lifespan could be, what's lifespan? Could be about 2 seconds. But speed is still too much, 0.01. Too less, 0.2. Okay, so we have like a constantly, something is constantly emitting from the center of the screen to the up for this guy, and this is what my scene object is for now. And what I want to do with it is that I'm going to pass it to um, pass it to a shader interface, and then when I pass it to a shader interface, I should have no changes, and then I'm going to give it to delay frame, which is I'm going to call it like just delay frame A. So, and when I do that, I need to give it back. See my initial pipeline. So when that's the concept of delay frame, just create it and just give it back to itself. And to do that, I'm going to make some space in here. So this is not required for now. Just going to keep it there, or maybe no, that's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to mix it with my original texture. So I'm going to mix it with it, and when I mix it, and I see that initial that, and this is the original one, and I pass it back to the this one, and I see that the background is like this. But then, okay, where's my device? And pass, and then this should be my output. And there's a, yeah, that's what I want to work. I don't want my face for now. So when I use my delay frame to be at 0.99 or point 0.9 or point 0.1, and I see that there's a there's a slight vibration sort of thing. Like if I put it to like number one, then my number one, that means 100% of 100% of my whatever this texture was. So I'm using one, that means I'm using this one 100% of it. If I'm using zero point 0.5, that means the zero point 0.5 of this texture, 50% of this texture, and the 50% of the texture of that. So, and then you can decrease it to zero point 0.1, then you'll have like a more delayed thing, or you can decrease it to 0.01, then you'll have like very slight change of that. Now interestingly, if you give this alpha to this guy, then it's going to give you like a super straight line, like wherever this thing goes, it's going to leave that trail. So um, I'm just going to start it, like I'm going to show you this very quickly, because let's say emitter, and initially number one, so birth rate is 1. So I'm going to just have like one element going like this, and I'm going to keep it here. Okay, and then there should be a 10% of randomicity of like where it's going, or maybe 50 degree of like sometimes here and there, sometimes here and there. So my particle is starting from the bottom, but then it's going into different directions. So what I'm going to doing now, I'm going to give the alpha to itself. Then you'll see that this particle starts making some lines going from that point. It starts printing itself all the way wherever it's going, because every time I'm, I'm rendering my output, I'm also rendering the with the same alpha. So it's gonna give those lines for everywhere. And this technique is used when you want to draw something with your nose, and you draw one something with your hand. So because we kind of track the alpha of that particular point, and then it keeps revolving like that. So I hope this you find it interesting, and you can utilize in your projects. I can refresh it. I can start to make it happen when there's a some sort of interaction. I can make these lines go away if I blur it out my plane. So if I use this material and I used an SDF again, stiff circle, use a complement with it. Pretty simple steps. All we did was to put it to like a like a sphere, like a circle. So now we don't have those square checkerboards. We can make it even smaller if you like, and then you'll have this dotted lines going here and there. Looks nice, I think. Yeah. So this is something you can do randomly. And also like it becomes super nice if these particles have like a little motion, like not just that, if you have like a greater like a speed of like making them, then you'll see like a burst of elements like that. So you can maybe when this Diwali or something like that, you can use this. So yeah, you can it just ends up creating some beautiful effects. You could also change these to make things in a different direction as well. Okay, think we have more questions now. I saw one filter like that had water bubble attached to his hands and make those, and those were moving in wobbly way, and when hands were brought near those bubbles and merge and separate, taken for. Yeah, yeah, I know. That was Dennis's effect, and I also made something like that. I think it's on my LinkedIn, um, but the Dennison one is very good. But that is pretty advanced stuff. Like that's something I call it advanced stuff because it has a couple of concepts. There's a lot of shaders into it. Um, then then there's a reflection, those things into those. So when you make them, when you combine them, they're kind of like smoothness, which we do with the SDFs. I think I can show you an example of the SDF particularly, but then you can try just the SDF. I can show you, but the entire concept is I know how to make this, but it's almost impossible to do it in the setup right now. But to do that smoothness, I tell you how's that happening. Uh, that's a 3D SDF. What we have in Spark is 2D SDF. To make a 3D SDF, you probably have to make a shader for it. Then you have to ray march it. That ray marching is like you generate rays from one point, and then wherever you want to print object, you kind of give those UVs to that, and then it prints those rays. They print it. Yeah, I mean, sure. Go ahead, connect yourself. No worries. So this SDF circle, I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna take another SDF. Maybe circle. You can take a SDF rectangle also. No worries. Like let's take two shapes, and I'm gonna just take an SDF smooth union to these, and that is going to give me a complement SDF complement, and then which is again I'm going to use the same setup to do that for me. So and okay, it's not rendering because our render only takes the so I'm going to just delete it and should be okay. So make it smaller. What is this material? Material 0, and complement 0. Why is this so wide? Take a rectangle, put it to 100%, 100%, give it a material like number 1. Okay, number 2, give it number 2 or 0. And so circle, okay, this is too big. This is 2.2 and point 2. And of course, right now they're a bit stretched because of the obvious reasons. So we have to do that adjustment of screen. But I'm gonna move it a bit in the side, and I'm also gonna move this one a bit in the left, and this one. And so the how the smoothness works is that you increase the smoothness, and you'll see that they start kind of merging with a with some sort of, so that's the merge that's happening between those two images when they are in hands, and that is the smoothness. The merge is similar to this function, but that's a 3df. It's a different concept altogether, but just maybe this can resonate with you with the functionality wise. And there's a glass shader that was used to make it transparent, those bubbles. And then, yeah, I mean, along the way you can just try to make something, and then it's a pretty advanced stuff for sure, but you can make that. It's not impossible to do. Like, couple of things that you have to learn, ray marching is one, but right now focus on what you're learning, and then once you've learned these things, then you can start probably with ray marching, with other things. So that effect is pure ray marching for sure. Yeah, that was the process. You remarch those spheres, and then you just use a smoothness function, which is they compare the position, and when they're nearby, they create a single shape merge into one, like this we just saw. How can we make a trail using this logic? Trail being a line which starts disappearing from the start, not at once, by point. Yeah, so just don't give the entire alpha to that. Maybe, like, instead of giving it this, maybe keep this value to 0.01 or something, or maybe zero point 0.1 or something. That, yeah, we just did that. I mean, we just did it here. Like, if the point is going up, and then it should leave a trail behind. We also did that in the similar fashion when we were detecting the movement. I hope I understand your question. Yeah. How can I make raindrops? How can you make raindrops? Use these SDFs, make some circle, make some rectangles, and try to merge them. You'll get it. You can make maybe one like that. So I'm gonna make it smaller and move it to the this, and maybe zero point 0.02, and in the y 0.03, and then I'm gonna move it to a bit in here. Um, make it lesser, go to the center, and then maybe, yeah. So just try to use the SDFs. You can. I mean, I don't want to tell you everything. I want you to learn by yourself, and then come back with the doubts. I don't know if you have tried making the SDFs yourself. You have to try. So take a rectangle, and try to make some combination with them. Try to make a bird, try to make some eyes. If you don't try, then you won't learn. You have to try yourself. If you don't want to use hands, you can do it with SDF. Yes, but I think Shaker was probably going to like a 3D effect that Dennis made was a kind of was a good effect, but yeah, maybe someday you'll make it yourself, Shaker. That's not impossible to do, but the process is that you learn things step by step, and then you'll be there. Okay. Okay. I think, Oscar, I'm done for the day. Any questions? If you have still, we got some minutes left, so we can talk about it. Oscar, over to you if you're here. Have you accessed the instruction template that I mm, posted in the link, the drive? That did you find it useful? Anything? Okay. Anything in particular that you want to learn in the future sessions? I hope the session was helpful. I know a bit of different concepts. Sometimes we don't like all the concepts. Some concepts we just love them to use them. Like, oh my god, this concept is so nice. I'm gonna make more lots of things on this. But some concepts they're like, I just want to stay away from this. Do something else. But but the more you do it, I think that every functionality, there's nothing difficult or there's nothing very easy. Everything is just a functionality. Okay, for some capability we might have to do some like pre-steps and then some things in the middle, and that's why we think like, oh, so many steps. But there's nothing which is difficult in here. Like everything is like, if you talk about SDF, you will find that as everything can be done using SDF. Not everything, but there are like a lot of things where SDFs can be useful, like creating some shapes, creating raindrops for an example. You can create like a very realistic raindrop using SDF. So just try everything out slowly, and yep. I'm glad everybody liked the session, and I hope, yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. This was indeed a great weekend. Uh, so happy Monday tomorrow, guys. Yeah, I hope you have a great start of the week. Hey, Asghar, over to you if you're here. I see that everybody is quite regular, like very much regular now, and which is good, which is good, super nice. Sahil is not here today. That's nice, Mohak. I'm looking forward to what you made. That's super nice. I'm really happy that you used SDF to make raindrops, which is nice. All you need to do is like create, yeah, which is nice. Thanks for telling me. You're welcome. Um, yeah, you're welcome, guys. Hey, hi, Asghar. He's still here. I think now I need some. Yeah, yeah. Good approach. Circle and a triangle. Good approach. Very good approach. I think that's the perfect combination. Yep, that's great. That's great to know. All right, Irfan. We'll do some hand tracking as well. Hand tracking interactions. Okay, I'm glad you're interested. You're excited about that. Future session idea: making a cartoon face effect or slider with age changing effect. Session ideas. Okay, I'm gonna give you filter making ideas, and then you have to bring me that filter. Okay, you have to make that filter. Don't worry, we have planned a good session for you so that you get to learn all the functionalities, and then so that our purpose is to make you enough so that you can create anything. Um, Sessions are okay. I think we have planned to do like a lot of knowledge to you already. But is there something which is just like that, like cartoon face effect or a slider with age changing effect? Well, maybe this is such a unique idea. Maybe you just make it yourself. Uh, if we can teach, of course, we can teach to make it, but then there's no fun in that. There's no fun in teaching is something which is these things are like more not very common, so better like make them yourself, and then you can become that person who teaches everybody. Like it's nothing very much different. So any anything else we can talk about? I think Askar is not here at the moment, or maybe not able to. Hey Askar, you here? I think Varun. Hey Varun, are you here? Perfect planet texture. Hmm. It's okay. Just just make it like a just make it like a gradient, like a gradient. You know, um, which is a mixture of some colors, and then you use a gradient to print it over, like we were doing yesterday on a sphere. We were using gradients for that. So just try to do that. That would be okay. The textures are not important. It's just that you should understand the way you're managing the scale of the aspect ratio. That's most important. If you do that correct, the textures are not that important, but just like try to find good ones. Um, you get free assets. Is that a question? Is that a statement? Is that a fact? I don't get free assets. I Where do I get the assets from? I You get free assets online, of course. You can utilize them, but make sure that you read the license, that you can utilize them for your own purpose, not just downloading anything, because that can be someone's intellectual property. Yeah. Okay, guys. Times is up. I'm gonna have to run away now, and then I'll see you next week. And oh, Varun is here. Hi, Varun. Hi.
I'm
You're
sorry,
on mute.
my mic was on mute. So, guys, I have shared the attendance link. You can fill the attendance link, uh, that form to get the attendance for today. And thank you so much, Naveen sir, for coming here and taking out the time on weekend. It's lovely and amazing to get some insights on AR sessions with you. We are thankful to have a mentor like you on this topic. So, thank you everyone for being with us and being such a patient and lovely audience. See you next weekend. Till then, if you just do the assignments and all that practice work which you are doing and learning from sir. So, let's see you on next week. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye, guys. Happy weekend.